So before we learn Rambam today, we're going to learn about Achitas. Today's Chumash. Today's Chumash talks about the minig, the custom of the people before the flood. It says the people had a custom. They had two wives. One for enjoyment, for pleasure, and one for kids. They didn't want to ruin their wife for pleasure. They had a wife for kids. The wife for kids lived by themselves. They didn't care about them. And the wife for pleasure, they used to feed them, and dress them. Today's Chumash. So in today's day and age, for these type of people, they have a new invention. They don't want their wife to lose their, to be ugly in their eyes or lose some parts. So what they do? They have a lady that holds the baby for 9 months and then has their baby. You take the person and the wife's sperm and the egg, and they put it into. Now sometimes it's people that need it. For example, a lady that doesn't have eggs, or somebody that or a lady that can't have a baby. So what they do is so basically what turns out is that one baby has two mothers. That's basically how what happens, right? So now the question is, what happens when the mother that the baby was in the stomach for 9 months, right? The surrogate mother is Jewish, but the other mother isn't Jewish. Is the baby Jewish? What do you think? The DNA comes from the egg. Doesn't come from the mother, surrogate mother at all. I don't think so. DNA is 100% from the egg. Every woman is born with thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs, right? And they come out every month. So one egg a month. So two. So the eggs come from when the mother's born. When a woman's born, they have all that, right? So now you take an egg which a woman has when they're born, with the sperm of a male, which are together. You're putting it into another woman, and it's in their stomach for 9 months. So who is the real mother? A Jewish person? How are you Jewish if your mother's Jewish? The neshama, the nefesh of the kids, goes from a mother to a child. So what happens if there's only half Jewish? Only one mother out of two mothers are Jewish. So this, very interestingly, there's a story in the Gemara, which is very connected to this story. But it's in the Gemara has the same case. So it talks about Yosef and Dinah. Yosef is the child of Rachel, and Dinah is the child of Leah. Marriage child, the child of Leah. So it says in the Gemara, it says that Dinah had 6 kids. Leah had 6 kids, and then she had Dinah. The last child she had was a girl, was Dinah. It says in the Gemara that really she was pregnant with a male. That's what it says in the Gemara. But then she made a cheshbon. She thought, if I'm going to have a male, that means I'm going to have 7 kids, 7 boys. That means Rachel is only going to have 1 boy, because the mothers were prophets. They saw there's going to be 12 tribes. So the 2 sisters had 2. Leah had 6, so there were 2 left. There were 2 left. If Leah would have 7, then Rachel, her sister, would only have 1. At least would have less than the other 2. So she didn't want to make her sister only have 1. So she davened to Hashem and came out a girl. That's what it says. That's what it says in the Gemara. It also says so I'll read it inside. So it says in the Gemara, you can daven for Hashem for have a boy or to have a girl after 40 days. Tefillah Shav. So it says in the Gemara, in fact, the Gemara, it says regarding Leah, after that, she had a daughter, Batika Shema Dinah. She named her daughter Dinah. So what does Dinah mean? All other names, it explains in the Torah why Leah called them that name. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Each one it says why. Why did she name that name? Dinah doesn't say. So what does it say in the Gemara? What does it say? Amar Rav says like this. Leah made a din. She made a court case in her own mind on herself. Vamra, she said, Yud Beis Shvatim, the 12 tribes, Asidin Latis Yaakov will come out of Yaakov, Jacob. Shisha Yatzmi many. 6 came out of me. V'arba minishvaches and 4 from the maid. Harayasar, there's 10. Im zezachar, if I'm going to have a boy, loitehayachesi, rachak achas mashvaches. Rachel won't be like one of the maids if she's going to only have one. It switched over to her daughter. She named her child Dina. Why Dina? Din, a court case. She made in her mind a court case on herself. If I'm going to have a... So what's the question of the Talmud? What's the question of the Gemara? We see that we can switch the baby in the stomach from a girl to a boy. The Gemara answers, that's only up to 40 days. After 40 days, you can't. So now the Marsha says something, the Marsha, the Pirush of the Gemara, something very interesting about this Gemara. He says like this. So what Hainu Shazachar Shabbat Leah Nitim Bet and Rachel and Akeva Shabbat Rachel Nitim Bet and Leah. The baby in the stomach, guys, listen. The baby in the stomach of Rachel went over to Leah's stomach, and the baby of Leah's stomach went over to Rachel's stomach. That's what the Mashal said. So a simple meaning is that Hashem took the baby from one stomach and switched. So who started the baby off? Rachel. Who started the baby off? Leah. But then Hashem switched them. So who's Yosef? Who's Yosef ben? Rachel. Dina ben? Leah. Dina bas Leah. So we see from this Gemara, right, that even though originally the baby started off in one mother's stomach, one egg, because it came out of another mother, she's called after that mother. So if the surrogate mother is Jewish, even if the egg comes from a non-Jewish lady, the baby should be Jewish from this story. But on the other hand, from this story, you could say the opposite. Why? It says in the Chumash, a few parshas later, that Shaul ben Aknanis, that Dina married Shimon. Now, the times before the Torah, and Ben Leah, a non-Jew, is not allowed to marry a sibling from a mother, but sibling from the father they are allowed to marry. So it explains in the Gemara that because Dina was really Rachel's child, right? Because she started off by Rachel, therefore she was allowed to marry Shimon because they really come from their mother. She came out of Leah's stomach, but really she's not Leah's child. She's really Rachel's child. So you see the same opposite thing from the same story. On one hand, they call her Bas Leah, so we see if that's the case, it's Leah's daughter. On the other hand, we see that she can marry her brother, which is not really a brother because she's really Rachel's daughter. So we see there's two sides to the same coin. So I'm going to say my 2 cents when I think about this topic. Okay? 2 things I think we have to think about. Why it seems to me that really the surrogate mother is the mother of the baby regarding the Jewishness, not the DNA. In Judaism, we don't really care so much about DNA. We care about who's the mother. So 2 things you have to think about. Number 1, it explains in Kabbalah that the baby is living off the mother. For 9 months in the stomach, the baby is living off the mother. The soul, the energy that the baby has is the mother's energy. The soul is from Hashem, I know, but how does someone have energy in general? The blood, right, as explained in Kabbalah and science, right? The blood has some chemical that comes out of it, and the energy connects with that, and that's why you always have to refresh the blood, right? So there's energy which is connected to the blood. Whose blood? The mother's blood. The mother's blood is connected to the umbilical cord, I'm assuming, with the baby, or maybe in general. What? The DNA, I checked on Google. The DNA comes from the egg. So the blood of the pregnant lady is actually giving energy to the baby. In other words, the baby is living off the mother. So if the baby is living off the mother, what do we see from here? That the baby comes from the mother. Number two, it explains in Chassidus that a mother and a father is like a seed and the earth. That just like that there's a debate in Chassidus a lot. Who is the real source of the baby, the mother or the father? So it explains really the mother. Just like the seed. You can't drop the seed in the middle on the table and it's never going to grow. It has to be in the ground. Not only that, the seed has to become rotten, has to totally disintegrate, and then it grows. The famous line, they say, if you feel like you're underground, you feel like it's dark, you feel like you're dug in the ground, you're 6 feet under, you're a seed. You're a seed. They're planting you. You get this. But the concept is, right, that when does something grow? When it rottens, when it disintegrates into the ground, that's when it grows. Right? So what do you see from here? Who is the real mother? The real mother is the mother that the baby was in the stomach for 9 months and created the baby. My point is,
so it would be vice versa, it would be boy.
Yes, but they didn't find the machine until today that actually could grow a baby. They can't take a little piece and put it in an incubator and the baby will come. Right? Why? Because there's a creation of the baby that happens after the conception, right? That's just a tool, but the real creation is the 9 months when the mother makes the baby and creates the baby, makes the baby bigger. It's not just a machine that you could. Once the baby is 6 months, whatever, a certain age, you could put them in an incubator, right? But when it's 40 days, you can't. You need a woman, right? So in other words, my point is, where do you see the real the creation of a baby, the miracle, not in the conception, but in the creation of 9 months, or 6 months or 5 months, the basic creation. The baby creates himself from one little seed to a full baby. That is not just it's not just like you're putting a baby in a machine and then it's not a machine. That itself is a miracle. The baby going from 0 to 100, that's a miracle. The proof for this is it says in the Shulchan Aruch that if you take a tree, a branch, and you stick it into another tree, halachically that branch is considered part of the tree, the big tree. That's the same thing I was saying. When you put the baby in the mother's stomach, it's not like a putting it in a sack. It really connects with the mother. It's living off the mother. So therefore, you have to say that it actually comes, when it comes out, it comes from that mother. And when does the Jewish soul come into the baby? When the baby comes out of or the soul in general come into the baby, when the baby starts breathing. When the baby comes out of the stomach. Not when the baby starts by conception. Not for it. The baby, the body and the soul of the baby connect and the baby comes out of the stomach. So in other words, you see from here that even though the DNA comes from a different lady, it seems like who's the mother? The mother that had the baby physically. And also another point is, you could take an egg and put it into a woman originally before she has relations. I think and you can put into if she doesn't have eggs, give a lady eggs. You see so much how it's not really a miracle. I mean, of course it is a miracle. Everything is a miracle. But the miracle is not the egg. The miracle is the creation, creating from the egg the baby, which that's with the mother that actually has the baby. Today's Rambam is talking about smells. People don't know, but there's many brachas we say on smelling. Everyone says B'rei Minim B'Samim. Why do we say B'rei B'Samim after Shabbos? Because their soul leaves us. There's a special soul from Shabbos that comes into our body and leaves Motzei Shabbos. However, so we say B'rei Minim B'Samim to sort of calm ourselves down. But there's many blessings we can say when we smell things.
But we say B'Samim.
So if you say B'Samim on a branch, you say Baruch Atah Hashem Atzei B'Samim. Very Atzei B'Samim. If you say
what branch?
Any branch, a tree, Hadassim. If you say a bracha on plants, you say Isvei B'Samim. Estrig, you say Shinasan Reach Teva Peiris. That's what it says in the Rambam. If you say, so now there's three smells you do not say any blessing. And that is, if it comes from Avodah Zarah, idol worship smell. If it is to take away a bad smell, smell in the bathroom, to take away a bad smell. The third thing we don't say a blessing on is if it's not to make something, it itself is not for its purpose. It's meant to make something else smell good. Like if you have a smell for your laundry, so it's meant to make your clothes. It's not, it itself is not, no purpose in it.
What about coffee?
And coffee, you should, if yeah,
If I like,
if you like the smell, I'm assuming
so what, bro?
you would say. So in general, if you don't know, you say mine b'samen. So it doesn't make a difference. You can say it's any good smell, you should say a bracha. You're not allowed to enjoy this world without saying a bracha. Huh? A breeze?
The breeze. The breeze.
If you take air freshener and you spray it for the smell, you probably should say a bracha. Unless you're gonna say that they created it in the first place, not for a good smell, but to take away bad smell.
I like the smell not from drink, when I grind, that's the smell.
So that's his point. He doesn't even like the drink when he's grinding the coffee. Like you should probably should say a bracha. If it's good oil, oils, have good smells these days, especially. Yes, they say you can say Berei Shemen Aret.
Chanel number 5.
What?
Chanel number 5.
Chanel?
No, cologne. Bro.
Yeah. So if it's a good smell, if it's not for your armpits, if it's just a smell, you say Shemen Aret. Berei Shemen Aret. So if you look into the Rambam, there's many blessings you could say for each smell. It says when you finish a meal and in the olden days used to give you oil. So you should hold the wine in the right hand, hold the oil in the left hand, finish the blessing, say Berei Berei and drink it. It says you should say Berei Shemen Arev, smell it, and pour it on the head of the shamash, on the waiter. It says if the shamash is a Talmud Chacham, you should pour it on the wall. That's what it says. Okay, everyone have a great night.